welcome everyone. This took a while because we had some technical problems behind the scenes, which have been solved by Artie's
It's
mother.
because I'm colored, isn't it?
It's your mother solved it by making you a quilt.
Told you.
That's
I'm fucking
that.
magic.
See that works. So yes, we're joined today by the man right here behind me, Richard Madsen. Uh, I have no idea what to expect from this conversation, other than the fact that Richard is actually a really cool guy. Although we probably won't agree on anything, uh, but that doesn't
That's
mean
not true. We will. We'll agree on some
we'll
shit.
we'll
It'll
find.
be weird that we do, but we're gonna agree about some shit.
We will agree on one thing, that Richard is a cool guy, and he's mocking me now. You see that what he's doing there?
No,
See,
no.
see?
Bunny ears aren't mocking. That's a sign of affection.
Yeah. Says the guy who's actually a shapeshifter and the reason why we're this late. But
Wait a minute. The magician? You're talking about me like that?
yeah,
I
so
fixed that shit.
yeah. You fixed. Your mother fixed it. She made the quilt.
Holy shit.
For the people who don't know what we're talking about, Artie was changing color all the time, and it was impossible to get him on a green screen because he looked like some weird alien, and then he turned into Steve Shives, and I have no clue what the hell happened. So, but lucky enough, his mother made a quilt that took rid of the green screen, and now Artie is, well, much more like Artie.
It's it's a lovely quilt, it really is.
Yeah,
Okay.
mom's getting really good at making these things.
Yeah. So let's go to our guest, Richard. Welcome. For the people who don't know you, tell us briefly who you are.
Peace and respect to you all. My name is Richard Madsen. The YouTube channel that I host, I call Demolish Doctrine, because I believe that religious stories are talking about the demolition of doctrine or religiosity, and that is the eventuality they're describing in a very, very real way, not the world becoming more and more religious. So I think those giving testimony to recruit to their own religion are really missing the point.
Okay.
That was it.
See, and now I was just taking something to drink, so I couldn't answer. Yeah. So this is going to be a little bit weird because we have talked before. I know you and Artie have talked before. So we need to keep in mind that not everyone's privy to all of those talks, and couldn't be because
Nothing but inside jokes, guys. Nothing but inside jokes.
yeah. So
Right
so
on.
some of the things that were entirely offline. So but you have at least some kind of should we call this a belief system, Richard? I don't know how would you call it, and can you tell us a little bit about it?
I am compelled and changed my mind at age 42 by what I consider to be evidence. Now, it's not necessarily persuasive to everyone, but persuasive to me. Personally, I think I would have preferred to have maintained, at least from the mindset I had, my anti-theism. I thought that would be the better way. I thought that was a better life. I enjoyed it a lot. I had a lot of quote unquote fun. So I probably would have maintained that. If what I believe is true about spiritual text were disproven to me conclusively, then I would absolutely return to the life that I had. Girlfriends, motorcycle, big truck, stuff like that.
If it was that fucking easy to pick up a broad.
Well,
Well, not all of us look like you, Artemis. And guys, I want you to,
aren't we lucky? Aren't we lucky?
yeah,
At least
seriously.
we
I
have
mean, some of
one
us are
color.
decent looking guys.
We have
right?
one
See?
color. We can be captured
Yeah, and
on
it's some
screen.
kind of human color too.
You're
It's pretty
jealous
handy.
about my chameleon-like qualities and not my
That was perfect. Now, guys, I want you to be really expressive during this talk, because don't forget, I'm looking at the backs of your heads. Okay, so I can't see your facial expressions. So please, everything that you mean to say, please say it well.
Okay, so for me that could be a little bit tricky because Artie keeps reminding me that I can't talk English. So
Speak English, sir.
He
Speak
doesn't
English.
reckon the Deutsch, if
he
you know what I'm
doesn't
saying.
speak in the Deutsch.
It's not talk English, it's speak English.
Ja, jij bent een lul, Artemis. Dat weet je. But
Cool.
so he has no clue that how I insulted him right now. So no, but
I don't either.
tell us a little bit about what you're into. I don't know how to capture this. Is this a belief system? Is this a religion? How would you call it, Richard?
If you don't mind, I'd actually like to see your facial reactions as I'm speaking. And when you put me on full screen, I can't see them at all, for real.
Yeah, but
So I know it's how you normally do things. I don't want to be uncooperative. I'm sorry.
Let's do that for this one, because I think this one
Okay.
matters especially. But most people can't see your mouth from behind him.
I'll have to
Here, there you
do this.
Yeah,
So,
that
go ahead.
I do have a very pretty mouth worth seeing. Yes, I understand. So it's very important. Okay. I don't know. I think it's only a belief system in that people, if you say that everyone has a belief system, you know, that what they think is true, and that's how they live their lives through what they believe is true. Whether that's a thief and a murderer, or someone who is very humanitarian, I think that applies no matter what. Would I call it a belief system then? Well, yeah. By definition, I guess it's a belief system. I'm following what I believe. Is it religious? I think is maybe the better question. Is it, do I have like a series of practices that I follow on a regular basis, not really understanding what they mean, and them being very, very symbolic, but it doesn't really mean anything deep to me? No, I just don't do those things.
Okay.
but you did this.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
This did change your life. I mean, you gave up women and motorcycles and big trucks. I mean, those are
Yeah.
the big three in lots of the parts of this country.
Sure was to me. Yeah.
And you threw a beer in there, and I think you got the quadfecta.
Yeah. Well, replace beer with Captain Morgan Spice rum and Coke. You got me.
Or
Got
just
me nailed,
add
man.
Jack. Yeah, I'm with you.
Oh, Jack is terrible.
Jim
Jack is
Beam.
soup.
I know
Jim
lots. I
Beam's
know
not bad.
lots of guys that got drunk on way too much of lots of shit.
And so, but I'm still off. So can you? I put this in the title, too much to put in one sentence. But can you do a quick outline of your beliefs? I think we both know
Just
what
Just the religious stuff?
yes.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So what I think that spiritual texts, and I mean all of the ancient spiritual texts, assigning value to the idea of a progenitor and living God, are saying is through what I like to call cryptic prophetic animism. And by that, I mean that it's not to be decoded until the very end, and it's decoded by the things that they do onto this earth. That's what decodes the stories. So they're fairy tales on purpose. They're supposed to look like fairy tales. They're just supposed to be colorful and memorable enough that when the things actually happen, it flips over in our mind and we get it. Okay. So that includes the prophecy, that it's prophetic, but it's not prophetic like magic. I think that what's being described is prophetic like intelligent interference. Like to them, it's just something they're going to do. To us, it's a future we can't see. So we call it prophecy from our point of view. It's prophecy. And then that it includes animism in every case that I know of, including Christianity and Judaism and Islam, where it's using our natural environment, some small amount of actual history, but a lot of made up history to tell about future events. Of course, you can't completely use only strict history to tell future events because there would be differences. That's why it's not the past. So I think that cryptic prophetic animism as a short phrase and an elevator speech, I think that's about sums it up. I don't know if that helps anyone, but that's what I got.
I mean,
hang on a second. I really want to throw this into Google Translate. Cryptic. Just think this will be fun. Cryptic. Say it again.
It's going to be 3 different definitions: cryptic, prophetic, animism. I've never heard those 3 words put together in my life. It's just that's what I see in the text.
I had neither. That's why I want to do this.
Fair enough.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to derail it.
Yes, you did. No, you did.
No, I really just wanted to know this so I could.
No, now you're just going on about it.
Because I've never done it and I don't know how.
You're just making it worse.
Richard, you were here when I was trying to get him on screen. I mean, he makes everything worse. If anything.
Audience, Peter, everyone who's subscribed to Peter, I have to tell you, you do not understand the patience that this man has with his friends. Unreal patience, huge heart, huge heart.
I'm falling just more and more out of love with you.
Let me amaze you, Richard. I've been throwing stuff out to Artemis on Twitter. Hey, I got this guy, Richard. I want you to do a show with me, with Richard, and no reply. Then I got you on.
That's not fucking true at all.
Then I got you in DM saying, when are we going to do this show? And I said, well, I'm pitching it to the co-host, and we're going to do this, and no reply. So today, I literally picked up my phone, and I called all the way over to Indiana, and some guy.
It's only 3 feet away from what I can tell. You guys are right next to each other.
All the way. See how difficult it was?
It's a big deal.
Sitting next to each other now. But
some people's kids, I tell you, making a big deal out of them, nothing.
Yeah. At least finally I got hold of him. He answered the phone and then he hung up on me, because that's what you do. If people call from a different continent, you just hang up on them, so they'll have to call back.
Okay, that part's true. That actually did happen.
But
because it's real easy to call from a different continent, right?
Yeah. So when it comes to
it's a lot
Artie,
easier than it used to be.
When it comes to Artie, you have to be patient, because it's like having an untrained puppy in the house. That's pretty much when you have Artie, and then he has this weird animal that always pops up. You see, there it is. So
see.
Well, Peter, I will say right now, my intent is that should we become friends, I would not purposefully test your patience as much as Artemis brain sample apparently does.
I hate to break it to you, because the interactions that we've had so far, I would already consider you to be a friend, at least in. I mean, the friendship's a spectrum.
You fucked up, Richard.
Friendship's a spectrum, but yeah, I would consider you to be a friend, because you're always decent. Even though things have gotten heated a little between us, and then the next day you were there saying that you wanted to apologize because things got heated. There's no reason to apologize. I mean,
I appreciate that. No, I felt it was the appropriate thing to do, not the necessary thing to do.
I do need to make a shout out, because we've got Mr. Obnoxious in the side chat who also bothered me this week. He wanted to have a chat, and when he grows up, Duncan, atheism. When you grow up, we can talk. For now, you're not.
While we're doing shout outs.
Yeah.
While we're doing shout-outs, I'd like to shout out to Math Pig and Shay and Critical Cripple. And weirdly enough, Duncan Atheism is and my beard. I'd like to say hello to my beard.
So I
one
agree,
of my best friends.
I agree with all of them except for Duncan Atheism. He doesn't know. He wanted to talk, and I said, I'm not going to do this offline, and then he kept insisting that we have a talk, and so I just ended
Now
it.
you've got fucking Doorknob Head thinking that I shit my pants.
Doorknob Head is hilarious. He should start a comedy show.
Doorknob Head is pretty
He
funny.
should start his own channel. I'm fully
True.
behind that.
He and I should go camping, is what I'm thinking.
And this is what happens if you talk to Richard, because if you want to talk about a certain topic, just a few minutes in, and you were talking about something completely different. I want to know. I want to know because in all of the conversations that we've had so far, I'm still
Yes, sir.
at a loss as to how you got to where you are now. What happened?
Great question.
What happened?
Right. Well, it was in 2012. I was 42 years old, and more as an academic interest, not at all wanting it to be true or whatever you might guess. And my life was not a living hell. I was not depressed, especially, or I wasn't having psychotic episodes or anything strange like that that can cause a person religiosity. Just nothing like that. In fact, I was pretty content. But I picked up the Bible, and I could only recall from my childhood one story that existed in the Bible, and it was David and Goliath. So I read David and Goliath, and like a colorful story from any kind of fiction piece, you might picture the scene in your head, and I had pictured the scene in my head, and I was like standing as a person looking out, my camera lenses, my eyes, at the war scene described in David and Goliath. And that is when the movie took over. I'll put it that way. And I have never done, just for reference, I have never done any kind of hallucinogenics in my life to the best of my knowledge. I certainly didn't do them on a regular basis. But what happened was like a lucid dream where I was conscious that I was in a dream, but having practiced lucid dreaming before, which I rather enjoyed, and several times and was pretty good at it. I was, unlike lucid dreaming, I was unable to take over the sequence and take control of it or predict what was going to happen. During that sequence, I was educated about actual things that, as far as I know, I was unaware of to that moment. Very, very fine details about things in our solar system, which is something I've never been interested in, is outer space. And before people start voting for their side, I never liked dinosaurs either. As a kid, I just didn't care about those two things. And I learned things about reality from a dream sequence in my head based in an ancient story, which sounds absolutely impossible and insane. And I know that. I get it. So the sequence was essentially, I could go into a lot of details because it's very sharp and fresh in my mind, despite the amount of time that's passed, was transforming the characters of David and Goliath into near stellar objects in our solar system. And the plausible, although extremely unlikely, interactions that could occur between those actual stellar bodies, I believe would result, or understood even at the time, that would result in a series of events that would be witnessable by a human being standing on the earth with normal senses and without any kind of mechanical aid. So that it actually produces a series of events. Reading further in the text, I found that series of events that I was also unaware of was in the text. As the signs of end times. So I could say that the book of Revelation is what would happen, and then David and Goliath is how it would happen. That's basically it.
Okay. That's an awful lot to unpack.
Yeah.
So we lose Artie? Oh no, he's back. Artie's Artie is our show's equivalent of a tumbleweed. He might be there and he might just show off.
Lots and lots of beautiful songs have been written about me.
Yes.
Actually, they're quite depressing songs, and
doesn't make them not pretty.
But
okay, fair enough.
So,
Wildfire.
You got
Really depressing.
you got this lucid dream, and that opened up your interest for certain things. But so, as I said, this is going to be a little bit hard because I already know an awful lot about you and about what you believe. So we need this. It's not me trying to mess with you, but we need to go over all of that again, because
Yes, sir.
otherwise the people here wouldn't understand what the hell we're talking about.
Otherwise,
We have a high percentage of a different audience. I understand.
yeah, I think people are going to need some
Yeah. So
Text.
context.
context.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. So, but you think so? Correct me if I'm wrong. You think that all religions are somehow linked, are somehow
Okay,
describing the same thing? Is that a fair assessment, or reworded?
Not
in
not
your
to
own-
be overly pedantic or picky, but not all religions would qualify. For instance, there are religions that technically fit the description of a religion, but they themselves do not consider themselves a religion. They do not necessarily think there is any God of any kind. They certainly don't think it's a progenitor, creator God who literally we are like descendants of. There are a lot of religions, the majority of them, especially when you get into more ancient religions, that do assign value to those ideas. So not quote unquote all.
Mhm. Okay, so let me rephrase it then. The religions that have a personal god or gods.
Right.
Okay. And so what I still don't get is, how did you get to that conclusion that they are all linked? How did you make that leap?
Well, with the lens that I'm using to look at the text, to read the text through, or the context that I'm using, which was literally handed to me. I did not do research. I did not look up definitions of things. I did not find actual science and try to squeeze it into the text. I simply didn't do those things. But the context requires that. And what I mean by requires that is, for instance, this rendering behind me, there we go. That rendering right there. That is chapter 4 of the book of Revelation, which describes solid, not solid like solid through, but like real, like you could touch it. Objects, their shape, their sizes, their coloration, glowing lights, faces that are on them, count of wings of 4 parts of it. I mean, pretty darn detailed, and all of it over a reflective, silvery looking surface. So that's why they have these white, in this camera shot, it looks like white stripes around the spherical objects. That's why it looks that way to you right now. That's actually silver. That I find that not only in Christianity. For instance, if I look at the alabaster flute woman of Japan with the god behind her, he's wearing a hat that has a large, and they're always magenta red. They're always magenta red. A large red sphere at the front of the hat, and that's followed by 4 medium-sized spheres, and that's followed by 24 smaller spheres. And when I look at Hinduism, there's a god whose name I have no chance of pronouncing with this brain, which has it has 4 appendages hugging the earth, and his head is over the earth, and it has no discernible body. Excuse me. It has no discernible body, but it has decorations on its cuff that count 4 times 6. That's, again, the wings, the 4 times 6 wings. It has princes in his crown, and all the princes are skeletons. That is princes of the past. And one has flesh, that is a living prince. And the count's the same, 23 plus 1 living. And he's a powerful god. He's grimacing. And also the red star Kachina. And everywhere I look, in every of these expressions, I just keep finding the same thing again and again and again, which a person could say is some form of apophenia. Some people accuse me of pareidolia, and that's fine as long as it's not too specific. But it's like exactly specifically the correct things in the correct order every time.
Hey, Richard, I have a really specific question that pertains to pareidolia. I'm just kidding. I do have a question about the image behind you, though.
Yes.
Did you find that before or as a result of the looking that you were doing that?
As a result of.
So you had already.
Wait. Maybe I'm not clear on your question.
Well, I mean,
I saw it as a necessity in the text. I looked for it.
No. I mean, literally the image, the thing that is behind you. Did you see that before you looked into what that image meant?
Did I see it before? No, I didn't. I saw it described in the text. I painted it. And while I was painting it, a friend of mine who's Native American, because I live in New Mexico, there's quite a few Native American people here. He walked by it, pointed at it, and goes, "Oh, Red Star Kachina." And I said, "Whoa, slow down. What's Red Star Kachina?" We weren't even friends when he said it. And he said, "Oh, library, shelf, book." So I went and looked, and he was right. All of the aspects of the Red Star Kachina are presented here. In fact, this exacting pattern is painted on his chest. Now, that's an older expression in their native religion than there were white people or Spanish people. It's older than that.
It would be really cool if you had a picture of that guy's tat to hang next to.
What guy's tat? You mean the Red Star Kachina?
The guy didn't you just say the guy had a tattoo of the image?
Yeah.
No, I said he pointed at it and he pointed me to the library.
He pointed you to the library.
He pointed at my painting, which I was doing in public, and said, "Oh, that looks like the Red Star Kachina."
I just heard the word tattoo, but like I said in our side chat, right now my internet is taking a huge shit. So
I'm sorry.
I might have dropped a syllable in the middle there. So
as far as my brain is concerned, I never used the word tattoo at all.
All right. I apologize.
So no, I don't know if you used the word tattoo, but you did say that he had some kind of picture of the Red Star Kachina because it looked similar to that.
No, I said he pointed at my painting that I was doing in public as he walked by, and he said Red Star Kachina, and then I said, "What does that mean?" And he didn't feel like he wanted to take the time to explain it to a stranger, and obviously not of his tribe. And he referenced to me a book in the library, and I went and looked at the Red Star Kachina, and this exacting pattern is painted on the chest of the Red Star Kachina in black and white. And his hard clay mask helmet is literally a magenta sphere with 4 smaller spheres attached to it that have 6 feathers instead of wings. It's an okay substitution. 6 feathers each, and then smaller ones that are on the mask only 4 count, but on the chest are exactly 24 count.
Can you lean one direction or the other so we can get a real good square look at?
How's that?
I'm a visual
I
tactile.
I can if I step completely out of frame, it messes up the green screen.
No worries. I just want to get a good glance at it. So you're describing the fact that you drew this from what you had seen. Well, I guess everything any artist draws is from their head. That's kind of a stupid fucking thing to say, but the fact that you had this level of detail in the thing that you had set out to put down, rather than this coming about organically while you were drawing, is reasonably fascinating.
Well,
but here's something that I don't find particularly fascinating is that you would find somebody in your area that belonged to a tribe that had as part of its culture an image very similar to that, and that image came to you as a visualization of what you were reading in a book. Those seem likely related.
Okay. Why?
it's hard to say when you might have seen that image. It's like two people.
Wait, no, he didn't walk by me and say, "Look at native expressions, all of them."
No, I mean,
I'm
literally talking about
of Zuni Indian. Go look at the red star Kachina. He said it by name. I didn't have a choice which one he meant.
I'm literally, but the fact that one guy in the area where you live used a description of a thing that meant something to you, again, not particularly astonishing. It is certainly interesting even as a coincidence, but it's not necessarily convincing as something that validates the universality I think you're trying to apply to. I don't think that the story necessarily does what you say it does. It certainly lends credence to the claim, but I don't think I don't think it in any way establishes it, because
let me make an example of it otherwise in a less emotionally attached situation.
Well, no, I mean, this is I'm literally talking about geography. That the fact that you are as proximate as you are to people who are familiar with that, it just makes me
familiar with what? With the Bible? He's a non-religious guy.
The image, the image, no church is showing that image.
Yeah, I understand that. So then by your own definition, what you just said, he could not have seen it before, and you're right. Except he had seen it before in his native religion.
He couldn't have seen your work, but he recognized, but he had obviously recognized what the image was.
Yes,
so he'd seen it somewhere.
Yes, and also I did not know his religion.
I appreciate that.
Okay, so to me,
kind of immaterial.
The objection you're making is like you're saying, it's a reasonable objection. Can I please address it?
Sure.
It's a logical objection. I agree with you. That makes sense. Okay, but let me just say about it. Let's simplify it and make there less similarities. Let's make an example of a similarity of 2. Let's say that you went through on a bicycle this certain alley and you got a flat tire, and you pull a nail out of your tire. Just 2 things: tire, nail. Okay. You look behind you, there's a pile of nails. And I mean 100 different nails in a pile at least. And you say, well, I can't prove the nail punctured my tire came from that pile of nails. I can't prove it. Okay. So I'm just going to walk away. The next day you get another flat with an exactly the same, as you can tell, nail, and you're in the same alley, having taken the same path. It looks like you drove through the same pile of nails. So a second time you say, well, I can't prove it. If you had all 1,000 of the nails or 100 of the nails or whatever I'd said in your tire one at a time, at some point you should say, wait a minute, this is too much for coincidence. So I'm talking about of actual points, like 30 points of definition that I find everywhere.
But this particular anecdote,
and we're talking about one example of that.
Right. That's what I'm willing to accept that this particular anecdote is just a piece of what. And you did preface all of it by saying you don't know what would necessarily impress anybody else as far as.
No. What I would ask is, have you gone out and tried to find an image of the red star Kachina, and have compared that with the image that you drew?
Well, yes, of course. That's what I said. That was the first thing I did. Was I went to the library. Mm-hmm. And I looked in a very old book. It was dated it was originally printed in 1820 something. I can't remember the date. I'm sorry. And I can't remember the author because that wasn't the important part to me. But some white guy, I don't even know how, made friends enough with enough tribes, and he was really respectful apparently. And he went to like their dances, and he got to talk to elders, and he did sketches of like, I don't know how many, more than 200 Kachinas from opposing tribes, Zuni and Hopi. But he had all these drawings in one book, and that's where I found the red star Kachina. So not that I don't find other stories in the Bible in the Kachinas, I actually do. And they work quite well, just as well as this does. But No, I didn't have like a preconceived notion as what it should look like. He just gave words that gave no description. Other than the only descriptive word was red.
Okay, so
Well, red's red.
now I have a question about what you just said. You
Yes.
said you found a book of a guy who drew lots of pictures of lots
Sure.
of kachinas. And,
Do you remember? Wait, hang on.
And
I'm sorry.
no, wait,
Do you
wait a
remember
minute.
what the title of that book was?
No,
No, you have
just
to let. I'm not going to answer you until Peter finishes. Sorry.
Yeah, you have to wait, Adi, because he said he doesn't remember, if I'm correct. So, but you saw an awful lot of pictures of an awful lot of kachinas, and one fits yours. And
What's the name of the one that fit mine?
Yeah, to me that wouldn't be convincing. If there are an awful lot of different pictures and one fits yours, I would chalk that up to coincidence, maybe. And that's probably
sure, as long as you can find another one that fits the description.
What do you mean?
So let's say I had found two that had 24 circles, then 4 circles, then 1 circle, magenta red with 6 feathers each. Let's say I'd found that, another one like that. The objection you're making, the point you're I'm not trying to say you're being like unreasonable. You're being logically objectionable. That's great. I agree with you. If there were 2 kachinas that looked similar in any way, then I'd say that's a totally valid thing to point out. There are not two kachinas in the same religion that look the same.
Okay, but so my objection with the whole thing is it's not trying to be pedantic, but if there are a lot of different depictions of what is apparently the same thing, the kachina.
What do you mean by apparently the same thing?
That's what I got from your stories. This guy.
I'm sorry if I said that in any way.
No, wait. I'll clarify. Maybe I'm just phrasing it wrong. This guy went to an awful lot of tribes, made pictures of different kachinas from different tribes. Right. If there was such a thing as a kachina, it would all be one and the same picture because it would be the same for everyone, wouldn't it?
What? No. Why would it be the same?
Why not? Why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't
these are series of costumes that are paraded around for traditional dance and traditional ceremony. It's not one kachina per religion. It's like saying, oh, you have a Bible made of only one example and one short story. No, that wouldn't explain much, actually. So actually what you have is a long series of kachinas that have to come in a certain order, that have an assigned dance that's not random at all, that represents to the people a fairy tale like the Bible represents to you fairy tales, like that.
Richard, is what was, how did you describe the color?
Magenta.
And where is that sourced from? Where's from? Well, where are you getting the word magenta to describe the thing you're talking about?
True red, magenta. It says literally jasper, which is a stone which is magenta colored in the Bible.
Okay, it's I'll admit I had to look it up. I studied art when I was a kid. It was kind of my thing.
Traditional most common jasper is magenta colored.
And I remembered that magenta seemed fairly recent. And here's what I'm looking at. Magenta is a color that is variously defined as purplish red, reddish purple, or mauvish crimson. On color wheel, on color wheels and the CMY subtractive color models, it is located midway between red and blue. It is one of the 4 colors of ink used in color paint printing by an inkjet printer.
Yes, because it has to be. Now, why?
Additionally, magenta took its name from an aniline dye made and patented in 1859.
Right.
So as a dye, it was established in 1859. The earliest use of the word is
What is the use of the word? Why are you speaking English instead of Aramaic to make this example?
That's why I asked you about the word magenta.
The age of the word has nothing to do with it. The invention of the dye or paint
I'm talking about the existence of the description as a color.
Yeah, no, and that definition of what it is was wrong, proven by the second half of the definition. See, you cannot.
It's not true at all.
Yes, it is, and I'm about to show you that it
is
absolutely is true.
Between red and blue.
Yeah, except it's not.
Well,
I hate to break it to you, but I use a printer. It on every printer. It is.
Yes, why? So you can make my point for me instead of just letting me say it. Why is it in every printer?
Because it's cheaper to use one color that contains red and blue than to have red and blue cartridge.
How are you going to get a bright, clean pink out of red blue? You can't. They use magenta because it is the true red.
Fucking ink.
They use magenta because it is the true base red, just like that yellow is the real yellow and that blue is the real blue.
What are you calling base red? Because I have never.
I mean red.
Heard.
Look, dude, I can make you fire engine red using 3 colors, and you have to use 3 colors to make fire engine red. You have to. You will have to use magenta and yellow and black. You have to. So don't tell me that fire engine color is red. It's not.
First of all, not all fire engines are the same fucking color. And
you know what I mean by fire engine red? Classic American red is not pure red. It is a slightly darkened
black in it.
It is a you have to put black in it. It is a slightly darkened magenta yellow. It's an orange red. It's very close to being magenta, but there has to be yellow in it. Try it.
So you
can make a beautiful quote unquote red with magenta, yellow, and black.
Hold on. Here's the question. Here's the question I have. You obviously have a different definition of what is red, because magenta is described as a color between blue and red. I'm not saying. And now we've lost Richard.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
Okay,
I can hear you.
Just curious.
Go ahead, I can hear you.
So, and this is in our previous conversations, and I'm not trying to insult you, Richard. Trust me, I'm not. I need to get this off my chest.
Please go ahead.
You seem to have different definitions for more than
that's cheating.
Just one thing. And I'm wondering why, actually, because
I'm pickier than you've ever been.
Oh, trust me, no one's pickier.
So this is the black that I used to make this painting behind me. Yes, you're seeing a photo of the painting, but yes, that's really what the painting looks like. That's the black. There's the magenta.
Mm-hmm.
There's the white.
Okay.
These are the only 3 colors I used.
Okay, but
if you want to tell me that don't look red to you,
hold on. No one's disputing that you didn't use those colors, and it's also when it comes to light. If you mix up light in different colors, you get completely different combinations when you use the exact same colors to combine than you do with paint. Yeah. So, and then you've got the distortion on a camera, so the color that we're seeing might not even be the color that the painting actually is, because Artie, believe it or not, isn't that orange. It's just
no, he's
his
not.
Lighting.
But I really am this pink. You know, when I look at that and I look at it on my screen,
yeah, but
it is darker on the screen.
We're getting a lot hooked up to
off
all of
track.
To all of this, and we're going on to a rabbit hole that is completely not interesting to
Okay, so
the
to
entire
answer
point.
your actual question, what you asked me was, how do I know that I'm not exercising my personal bias in finding a kachina that matches what I think is in the Bible?
No,
That's what you actually said.
no,
No, not
I
what
don't
you said.
think either
that's
of us have
maybe
said that.
maybe that's how it came across. That's not what I meant.
Then I misunderstood.
We know that we humans are pattern-seeking animals, and
Oh boy,
some people do that more than others.
or better.
Could it obviously better if they're actually doing this actively? What I'm trying to say is, have you ever considered that you might be counting the hits and discarding the misses? Because
Of course, I've considered that because I'm a human being who's flawed.
okay,
Now, if I could just answer it, because
go
I
ahead.
think you haven't changed the question at all.
Okay, go ahead.
It's called the Red Star Kachina by what the words the man used, also in the book, and there's only one labeled in the book, Red Star Kachina, something I had never seen in my life. In fact, I'm pretty sure it would be impossible for me to have seen a Red Star Kachina before that, because I wasn't raised around native folks at all. And then I looked up exactly the words he used, and it is exactly what I'm describing to you. In fact, there's more detail that I haven't described.
Okay.
So no, I didn't have a choice about what the Red Star Kachina is. No choice.
But so, and maybe it's that is what's confusing to me, because you keep talking
that's
about
a really
the Red
weird way
Star,
of putting that, Richard.
the Red Star Kachina, and then you said it is a costume.
Yeah,
So,
kachinas are costumes worn by people during ceremony.
okay, and so is there a reason for the costume? Does the costume stand
Yes.
for something within their religion?
Yes.
And if so, what does it stand for?
Well, they're all different. As I said, there's no two the same. And like I said, that is their fairy tale expression that is colorful and memorable in a way that they like. It works well for their community, so that when they see the actual thing, it'll flip over into reality. I think that's universal, that they're all designed that way. So the kachinas are a costume that is considered to be a living being, like they set food before it. And if you have the privilege within your tribe to represent wear a costume and be the kachina in these ceremonies, that to the old folks, to the young folks today, not so important, but other than honoring their parents. But to the old folks, even some living still today, is a very, very serious thing. And they come in a specific order during the year, and they represent very specific things, and they have very specific dances, which
Okay.
at first I thought were random, but they're not.
So what does the Red Star Kachina, what does that stand for?
Well, he's in a series, and the series starts off with the planet Kachina, which is dressed as a volcano, and then after that comes the red eagle Kachina, which falls from the sky, burning with a red flame. That's the presentation, that the association I make to the Christian story. And then after that comes a white-faced Kachina, and after that comes the blue star Kachina, and after that comes the red star Kachina, in coordination with the butterfly maiden, who is wearing a headdress. I could go into detail.
Richard,
That's
I'm
probably doesn't tell you anything.
I'm completely lost, because now you've listed all the others that come later. What I wanted to know,
not later, before.
What
Where
I
did
want
it come before?
Peter, where did you get lost?
What I wanted to know is, what does the Red Star Kachina stand for? What is the meaning?
It's the biggest. It's the most important thing in the series, but he's neither first nor last.
It's the most important thing. Hold on. It's the most important thing in the series of what?
Of Kachinas.
And what is a Kachina?
It's it's a religious expression displayed in costume and dance.
So it's not an actual thing, it's an abstract.
Well, the story the people tell is a messenger came wearing the costume. They imitate the messenger. The messenger did a dance for them and told them a story. And they still wear the exact same costume and do the same dance today.
So the Kachina stands for a messenger, not a costume.
Well, I'm trying to use English. I have to call it a costume. That's what it is.
Well, no, you did say the Kachina came wearing a costume, and that now people wear costumes to imitate the Kachina,
the messenger.
Right. I'm sorry, but okay, and the messenger and the Kachina are separate.
Dude,
no,
you're not a football player.
That's true. That solves my fucking question.
Dude, you're not a football player, but you're wearing a football jersey.
Okay.
So right now you represent the idea of that team and that number, and maybe it means something to you and lots of other folks, but it doesn't mean anything to me because I don't understand the references.
Is there an original Kachina?
And that's why I asked what.
That's like saying, was there original football player number 29? Yes.
Yes, there was.
Yes.
Okay, so there was an original Kachina. Did that original Kachina show up? Did it appear in costume?
Yes. Just like the first time you ever saw that player, he was wearing that jersey.
That's exactly what I thought you said. And then when I asked you about it,
this may help me get my question better out. I'm still at a loss as to what a Kachina is. I know what a football player is.
It's a series of costumes.
No. Hold on. You just said the Kachina wore a costume. So the Kachina is not a series. I'm trying to get to this. If I'm frustrating you, then just bear with me because I literally do not understand what a Kachina is. Is a Kachina a sort of a god? Is it a messenger? Is it a specific person in the religion of the Indian tribes? Because I'm at a loss what a Kachina is.
Okay.
Let alone what a red star Kachina is and why there's a star in the Kachina. I want to grasp the concept of what is a Kachina and then take it from there because I have no clue, because once you say it's a costume, in another explanation you said it's a person, it's a messenger.
It's a person wearing the costume does nothing by itself, Peter. They're inanimate.
I'm not talking about the costume. I'm talking about a Kachina. What is a Kachina? What's the definition of a Kachina?
I can tell you what the story said, which is probably not a thorough understanding of it because I'm not from that people, okay? But the way the people tell the story is messengers came. And by messenger, they mean anyone who gave them their religion. That's what they mean by a messenger, okay? And they say that the messengers were about twice as big as the people. That's what they say about it, okay? And these messengers gave them the idea of the Kachina. And they were dressed like whenever interaction's supposed to have happened, the messenger big guy, and it was always big and it was always a guy. This really big person who spoke their native tongue was wearing a costume the entire time they knew that messenger.
Pause.
And
Is that person that came to them with the message about the Kachina a Kachina?
In the moment, yes.
Oh Christ!
I'm completely
You know,
I'm
it's a
completely
temporal thing. You're killing me. Like this is the same. This is the thing.
Dude, quit being so freaking white. Just learn to live with it. They don't talk the same way.
So Richard,
They just don't think like you.
Richard,
They
what
don't talk like you. It
Richard,
doesn't work.
Richard, hold on. We're not talking to them or about them. We're talking to you. We're trying to understand you. We're not trying to understand an Indian religion.
Right.
What to me is frustrating that I've asked you several times now, what is a kachina? And then
I'm
you
sorry.
no, listen. You then tell me a story, but you do not come up with a definition.
I don't get what you're saying. I've given you the definition, like in my opinion, 3 different times.
Well, what is the significance of the kachina?
It's a fairy tale done as a play and a dance using costume, so that when the actual event that it represents happens, the people's mind will take it from fairy tale to reality, understand that the prophecy was true in the first place, and understand what's going on around them.
And if I didn't like you so much, I would do some really insulting shit right now.
What? I don't get it. I'm doing my best to answer your actual questions. No, I don't know what to tell you guys.
There's no way for me to make you appreciate how gibberishy that sounded to me, and I apologize for using that.
Dude, it's made out of leather and stuff.
Yeah,
It's painted. It's painted leather and stuff.
We're talking about, is it a being? No, it's an event.
Dude, are you your clothing?
It's a representation.
Are you your clothing? No. But you're wearing clothing. And right now you look a certain way and you're representing a certain thing on YouTube.
And I can define what I am.
Richard, I think you still do not understand the question that we asked.
Apparently I don't.
No, I think it's really...
Because you keep going back to the clothing. The clothing is irrelevant. We've got this character right here who's the red kachina. Yeah? Okay. You can strip him bare naked for all I care. Who the hell is the guy in the costume that appeared to the people? Why is he there?
Oh, now you're asking for my opinion.
Does he have a specific function? Is he a god? Is he in any way, shape, or form tied into the Indian religion that the people are wearing the costume in? Because I'm completely at a loss as to what a kachina is and why it's even necessary. It for all intents and purposes, it is just a costume that a particular person wore, and you tied that in with the Christian Bible, with the Hindu religion, with the Muslim religion, with the Jewish religion, and I want to see where this all comes together, because I know of no character in the Bible who wore a costume that is even called or looks like the costume of the red kachina. I'm at a loss at how you tie this into other religions, because there must be some kind of significance to the red star kachina, or people wouldn't dress up like him. He must have meant something. He must have done something, said something. I don't know, impregnated someone. I mean, he could be the Holy Spirit.
I want you to know this is just as difficult for me. You're not the only ones in this situation.
It is, but what I'm saying is it's not as difficult for you, because you've already come to your conclusion. You already have tied all of this in.
Yes, but it's a lot like talking to a stone wall.
Well, that's not fair.
It is, and you can't help it, and it's not your fault. I'm not blaming you, but that's how it is.
Well, then I just don't like your choice of metaphor then.
We don't have choices about these things. This is just how it is. Look, okay, so the one who represents the kachina, the one that overall would be called messengers, are living beings made of flesh.
Okay, but you're already talking about a person that represents a thing. What is that thing?
It's their religion. It's a fairy tale designed to make a colorful picture that they can remember. That's all. don't know what else to say about it. Okay, let's use the Bible as an example.
Let's use aloha as an example of how many things this word can be.
No, it can't be multiple things, actually. That's not true. Let's use the Bible as an example. Okay, we read the Bible and we look at it and go, wow, those are weird fairy tales. That can't be true. We look at history. We say, okay, it's not true. That's fine. It still tells a story. The story is the important part. The history of the planet is not important in this particular thing, because as God and angels, and you can trade the word messenger for angel, by the way, in the Kachinas. You can say the messenger is the same thing an English speaking person would call angel. Same thing. All right. That they're given a series that will, at the right actions by those angels, would transform the fairy tale into reality. But it's just kind of like a little heads up so that people have a more easy transition. And that's the purpose of it.
Okay.
Which is why it looks like a fairy tale. It should.
Time out. Because now you come up with a definition. A Kachina is kind of like an angel. This was literally the question that I was asking all the time.
Holy crap, if I understood that, I could have answered it in one line.
This is not an insult. What I get from you, I've seen you talk to different people. I saw the conversation that you had yesterday where Artemis was part of. I've seen the 3 hours with Eric from Talk.
That was painful for you. I'm sorry.
The only thing that is painful in all of this, and it is what I experienced, and I see that every single one of the people you're talking to experiences exactly the same thing. When people ask you a question, it is as if your brain is already 2 miles ahead and is answering a question that will come up somewhere down the line, and you think
maybe you're right,
or maybe
you're
I'm
right.
not saying you think.
You're probably right,
and that's what's causing the confusion, because we're not with you already.
To be fair, Richard, I do that a lot.
I appreciate your admittance of that, and that's encouragement. I appreciate that, and understanding and kind.
So the reason of this conversation is trying to understand where you're coming from, and so far I think that no one that you've talked to has any clue what you're talking about. I mean, yesterday I caught MathPix saying several times, I think he's crazy. I still have no clue, and I work with him pretty much every week. I saw Eric.
True story.
I saw Eric become increasingly frustrated. And so
true story.
I do have a simple. We have a couple of questions from the side chat, so I need to scroll back.
We haven't even gotten into anything yet.
Before we start with those, Richard, I just wanted to say I was actually just thinking that if all I knew about you was what we're talking about right now, I would have genuine and sincere concerns about your mental health.
Sure.
But I know enough else about you that the thing about it that really is troublesome is that why are you just crazy on this one fucking thing? Everything else you think is rational and it all makes sense to everyone around you. What? Why is this one
that's
thing?
four people since 2012 that have said that to me. I just want you to know that. Okay?
I do have a question.
It's a relatively popular opinion.
I hope
Peter,
before
we go on,
Richard,
if you would allow me, I want you to know.
Before we carry on, I have questions
I just asked you to do that. It's not fair.
were relevant 10 minutes ago. So I want to throw those out. From Holland, Joan asked if the text needs so much explanation, and Richard is the only one who can explain it, then what is Richard within this religion? Are you a prophet? Are you a messenger? Are you some kind of Christ? Where would you place yourself? Because
willing participant.
Oh, yeah, I'd say I would even throw in because, and these are your words, Richard. So don't come after me if I say this. You said you were a victim of this. You can't go back. That you said that on Eric's show. So I'll throw that in as well. But so, where do you stand in all of this? What is your mission?
I'm still going to say what I wanted to say. I just had to wait longer.
Okay, go ahead.
And that is, I think you guys have been very, very patient with me, and I think that what you're saying is most likely the correct answer. Because it seems to me I am overstating it and breaking it down into bite-sized pieces. And you're probably right. I'm probably not, and that's completely my fault if I'm not doing that.
Hold on. I want to respond to that because I've learned. No, wait a minute. I've learned, Richard, doing these talks, that different people have a different way of thinking, and so this is a problem that we all will encounter at one point in time. We will bump into someone, and we will just go straight past each other. And the only thing that I'm trying to establish right now is that we can at least be on a similar plane so we can have this decent conversation. And
I appreciate that.
Again, this is not me trying to insult you or put you down, because I've had people, I had a guy in the side chat one time who told me you're wrong about this, and I told him I'm not. It took him 2 hours to explain to me why I was wrong, and I finally had to accept that yes, I actually was wrong, and I still thank him for that, to stick with me for 2 hours in an offline hangout trying to explain to this dumbass that he was just wrong. So
I don't think it's a matter of intelligence, actually. I mean, it's a matter of familiarity, and I'm extremely familiar with what I'm saying.
Exactly.
To answer,
Yeah.
which I've had some interaction with. How does it go? CH2517 Joan.
Yes.
That's how it goes.
She's Joan.
Very patient with me.
She's from Holland, and she's an extremely nice woman.
Apparently.
Yeah.
To answer that question directly, where do I fit into this? I think, first of all, that the prophecies are true, that they're actually going to happen. And I think that
prophecies.
Quit strawmanning me.
Artie, let him finish first.
Prophecies you're talking about.
Artie, I could answer that, but let him finish first.
Which are all the same, expressed differently. They're all the same. They're just expressed differently for different people with different mindsets.
So it's not errant to say biblical prophecy because they also are biblical.
It is errant to say biblical prophecy because you're picking one over the other when they're all the same.
I'm saying not all prophecies are biblical, but biblical prophecies are prophecies.
Sure. Absolutely. So is the Hopi prophecy. That's also a true prophecy. Or I was talking about a specific one. But anyway, to answer her, where do I fit in this? Part of the prophecy is that old men would start dreaming dreams and young men would have visions. I think that's what happened to me.
Okay.
That's my honest answer.
Okay, but you're on YouTube, you're on Twitter, you're telling people about your experience. So is there a goal in all of this? Is there something that you want to get to? Do you want to convince people of what you believe and that is the one true religion? Is there anything to gain by it?
I love that you said one true religion, because I think that's the case. I think it's one true religion, and every word of that. One, expressed differently everywhere. True, factual to reality. Religion, something that's talking about destroying and trading that for truth. So yeah, it's one true religion. That's right. I completely agree. I don't think that what it's talking about is building churches. I think that's something that people do. I think shallow views based in prejudice and tribalism has led us quite naturally into the position we're in, where we can, and technology has brought us together to where we can argue about who's right when no one was wrong in the first place.
Okay. I think in so many words you just answered the question that that Duke had. If not Duke, then please let me know if that didn't answer your question. I'm still trying to get to. Do you have a way of checking whether or not the connections that you made between the religions are correct and are valid? Is there a specific method that you use?
I would give the example of the painting that's behind me now. And a person can read this in the text. It's chapter 4 of the book of Revelation. You only have to read the description of, all of it works, but you can just read the description of the beasts around God's throne. Okay. That's really all you need to read, because there's a qualifier and then 4 following disqualifiers. And there's a certain count of wings, and there's a certain face on them. And if you'll notice in this poster behind me that I can't visually see myself because it's a green screen. But let's see, which way does this work? Yeah. Okay. So right there, that's the underview.
You gotta get your hands shoulder height. There you go.
That's the underview of the face of an eagle. Opposite that is an underview of the face of a man. Behind my shoulders, a lion and a calf or cow. Okay. You'll notice that those are the original signs of the zodiac, just off of east, north, south, and west. So right beside of, I'm not even going to try that. My brain's not that good. Anyway, Achaia the eagle, Leo the lion, Taurus the bull, Aquarius the man. Okay. And the reason I'm saying that is because I think these serious actual objects are older than religious expressions themselves, as to include astrology. So what I'm saying is that even in astrology, I see these same stories, and they don't even consider themselves a quote unquote religion. But I mean, I could tell you the story of David and Goliath. In astrology, it's one of the fundamental stories of astrology. As long as you look at it like a series of cause and effect through our solar system, then it works very, very well. And to answer more directly, I think why I believe this is right is because it's way beyond the possibility of my personal biases when it's just every single time the same things described using the same base aspects coming in the same order. It's, to me, I think that's just too much.
I love you so much.
I think so. So I just looked at the clock. We're an hour and 14 minutes in.
No, it's only been about 32 minutes. That's wrong. That's got to be wrong. Can't be. We didn't even get started, Peter.
It felt a lot longer. No, I'm kidding.
The fact that you kind of described it as a Famunda painting made my elementary school heart just giggle.
A what?
I mean,
never heard of Famunda cheese?
Sure, but I don't know why you're using that word. And go ahead, Peter, please.
Because the painting is from under, and this one's from under.
Sure.
It was a phrase you repeated.
I didn't realize. Sorry.
I don't think that I got any further than when we started this conversation. So before I forget, I really want you to get back here.
Episode 2 then? Okay, yeah.
And do as many as needed to get through this thick skull to make me at least try and understand what this is all about. And
Someone in the chat mentioned that you had that. Is there a place where you've got your basic tenets written? Have you got like a blog or something?
Basic tenets. What does that mean?
Do you have a blog or something that describes your
findings? Are they written down somewhere for people to go and read them?
Oh wow, that would be like 3 doctorates worth of work or something.
No,
all I have.
I'm not asking you to produce it.
all I have, I did a short essay of just David and Goliath. That exists. Everyone's welcome to it. I can give Peter the link, and maybe we could put it in the description of this video.
Sure.
And people could critique it as they will. I would hear all critiques. It does include some more than 20, less than 40 points of falsification, plausible in actual reality that we can test. That is to say the prophecy could happen, not that it did happen.
And so,
man, I hate seeing my own face.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was about to respond to that. You're not the only one, but that would give you the entire wrong impression, because
it could. You could have meant self. I love the way you named the video. The name of this video is just too perfect. In the part that was on the screen about and behind our faces, beyond belief. I love that, and here's why I love that: because you could say beyond belief means unbelievable, literally. And that's genius.
Okay,
but it could also simultaneously perfectly describe my position that I'm pushed beyond belief. I'm way past. I don't have belief.
But you missed.
I feel like I have assurance.
You missed.
Or I feel like I'm convinced that it's true.
Richard, you missed one letter. It's not beyond belief.
I thought
it's beyond beliefs, with an S at the end.
Still works just the same.
Yeah, well, so the reason I chose that is because we can still talk, and I told you before, I really like you as a person, because you're just a great guy. There's no way to make you mad, because once you've been into a one-on-one conversation with Darth Dawkins and made him go nuts, and you were still calm and collect, I mean,
I do feel bad about that conversation, because I gave up on actually being able to present my case to him, and I shouldn't have given up.
So to be fair, he wouldn't have been open to hear your case. So
I believe you're right. That's why I gave up.
That would probably have just been a waste of time, because he would have done this and then come back and tell you what you think. So
I mean, if you're going to ask me where that is in the text and you want me to spit out a number, but you know it exists in the text, you're just being a contrarian.
Yeah. If you get to a point where you know that's what's happening, just ask them to produce the page number so you can look it up.
Yeah.
He probably could. He's really good at those numbers.
Well, that's the beauty of that is it's so fucking ironic that no 3 fucking versions of the goddamn thing have pages that are within 10 pages of each other.
Nice. That's pretty smart. I like that.
So, there is one thing, and probably I'm derailing the entire thing here now, but there's one thing that stood out in the conversation that you had with Eric, and that I just had to look up, and that was the part of the comet. Can you tell me your side of the story, and then I'll ask questions.
Oh, sure. Be happy to. Okay. So in the story of Jericho, when the Ark of the Covenant, which by necessity I think means heaven, is in the house of Dagon, and by that I believe the text is saying the constellation of Dagon, which later became Poseidon, which later became Draco, today is called Draco, which is that lazy W and triangle sets of stars that wrap around Polaris, the North Star. that when the Ark of the Covenant was in the house of Dagon, Dagon fell off of his elevated place. That is, it was diminished. It was made lesser. Okay. And it lost its head and hands, which would be continuously for all three of the names they've had for it, the different drawings they've had for that same constellation. The head and hands have always remained the same. So I'm not cherry picking it. That it loses its head and hands. Now, I read that in 2013, and by halfway through 2013, in my mind, the way that I read it, I was expecting something to block out those three particular stars for a length of time where people would be able to like look up at it, see it with their own bare eyes, talk about it a little bit, and be able to have a conversation about how strange that is. So it wasn't until NASA found it in 2017 that I got confirmation that it exists, because I do not own a high-powered telescope. I never have. So if you look for comet C, like capital Charlie C, 2017, K2, that's Kilo 2, pan-stars, PANSTARRS, two R's, pan-stars. You can find graphs on that incoming comet. Now, that comet is coming from very, very close to north. But because of gravitational forces, it will be slightly changing path. Right now, they have it estimated as dropping through our solar system from north, approximately between, I think they have it pegged between Jupiter and Saturn somewhere. But there is an amount of variation that is possible within that, which is also shown in many of the charts, where it might penetrate our solar system closer to the sun than that. I think the prophecy is saying that that comet, being much, much closer than it is right now, lined up to where our orbit will be at the moment, with the slight variation, which is well within the scale that NASA has described, could block our view of those three particular stars for more than a flash of time, more than a week, maybe as much as 8 months. I can't really tell that.
And see, and that is where I have a problem, because of you mentioning that with Eric, and I put the link in the side chat just now. That comet has a radius, and I'm reading from the page right now, between 14 and 80 kilometers. And it will pass the Earth at its closest, I think, around July 14th, 2022, at 270 million kilometers.
Per hour.
So, no, not per hour. The distance between us and the
distance. Comet. Okay, go ahead.
So now you've got an object that's between 14 and 18 kilometers in radius, that is 270 million kilometers away from us. That will in no way block out three stars at the same time for a long period of time, if it even is big enough to block out one star.
That would be amazing, right? Congratulations, you referenced only the solid part and not the coma. The coma at a greater distance is presently, if you held them up in the sky beside each other, you can see them both simultaneously, the size of Jupiter.
I can't.
And much further away than Jupiter.
I'm looking at the page right now.
What's the significance of something coming within 2 million kilometers of Earth?
It's coming from north
2 million.
If I'm entering the story,
there is no north in space.
You stop that. You know exactly what I mean by north.
I don't know what you're just saying.
I am not going to have that argument again.
If you're describing something as coming from the north, I'm assuming that you mean
the North Star. North.
No, I assume you did.
Yeah, we're running into a problem here because the North Star is not in the north everywhere in the universe.
It's not a direction.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know why you would say that to me. I'm not retarded.
But that's literally
nor are those 3 stars that I'm describing equidistant from the Earth. What's your point? That has absolutely zero relevance to the situation. By our perception, in our 16 light minutes of travel around the sun, and yes, I know that's approximated. If something comes from the direction of Polaris and it's big enough, bright enough, and close enough to us, it could block out one or more stars for a length of time if it's on exactly that azimuth.
I'm looking at the halo.
Mm-hmm.
You can't see that because it's headed right for us.
Yeah,
we're looking dead on it.
The halo is 130 kilometers wide.
Right.
So it will be visible to the naked eye only at December 19th, 2022.
Starting at. You're reading that wrong. Starting at.
It will reach perihelion around 19 December 2022, close to the orbit of Mars, and will be visible to the naked eye at 3.1 magnitude.
3.1. Okay. So a little bit dimmer than your average star.
But, and I'm still struggling as to how this would block out 3 stars. If
my entire computer just disappeared, that's how. It all depends on how close you are.
Okay. This it's a comet.
Yes.
Headed directly at every telescope that can possibly perceive it.
I can't answer that because I think we sent a camera out of the solar system. But okay, sure, keep going.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a legitimate. From Earth, all we can see is the dead-on appearance.
Yeah, the circle of it. Yes.
Yeah, all we can see is the nose.
Right, the nose. Right.
All
the tail's facing away from us because it's come directly toward our sun, or very, very close to it.
And that is going to miss us by 2 million kilometers.
You are not looking at what I.
Not
okay, I'm going
to
say.
Hold on.
I entirely have in mind what you're about.
Not 2 million. Not 2 million. 270 million.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's a little bit further away.
Okay. Did you look at? I can't think of the right scientific term, so I'm going to just describe it. Did you look at their projected possibility of inaccuracy? Did you look at that?
I have to be honest, no, I haven't, no.
Okay, so in some of the charts that NASA actually produced, coming off of that circular line where the comet comes in from north, loops under the sun, and goes out of the solar system in some direction. They have gray lines coming down on the chart from that looped line, saying it could be anywhere in here. And by the way, most of their lines of likelihood are on the opposite side of the sun from where they're projecting it's going to go presently. So in their projected model of acceptable variance includes the sun. So yes, right now they're saying it's going to be it's going to pierce our solar system a really far distance away from us. But you have to also say, what are they projecting total? You can't go off that singular line because they know they're not that accurate.
No, so
it might be anywhere. It might crash directly into the sun, according to NASA.
And that's the part I could not find. I could not find anything from NASA where it says it will block 3 stars in the constellation of Draco. I couldn't see.
They're not looking at it that way. I'm not saying that NASA is full of religious people who believe prophecy.
Hold on. But
that's not what I'm saying.
No, but when I watched you on Eric's show, you distinctly made the claim that NASA had confirmed that this planet would block out 3 stars. So that's the part. That was the part where, while you were still talking, and I went back to get the number of the name of the star correct. Yes. And I went back and I tried to find that, and I couldn't find that anywhere.
Can you open the chart I just linked you? Can you open the chart I just linked you? It's in the private chat.
Where did you link that?
In the private chat of this conversation.
Just for the sake of argument, are you willing to accept that the space station blocks out 1 million stars?
As it passes by, yes, of course.
Okay, just because I'm just wondering that
but it doesn't hold still in one place where you and I got time to talk about it blocking out any specific star. It doesn't hold still. See, but coming directly at a 90 degree, or very, very, very close to a 90 degree to the plane of our solar system, it will appear to be still in the sky and getting bigger for a long time. So that's not the same thing. That's not a comparative.
I'm sorry. I do remember Halley's Comet.
Dude, when you hold on, seriously, I'll give you. Okay, maybe I'm not. Maybe my brain is weird. Okay, so what you're saying is you could see this. Like you could see this, a dot,
no,
right?
I'm just wondering about what the significance of the
you got to finish
out of 3 stars is, because I can.
You got to finish.
Dust.
You got to finish. My turn. You said you could see the end of it, and you know what Halley's Comet is, and Halley does this past you. Great, that's awesome. Looking straight up toward the North Star. If it's coming from north and at a 90 degree to our plane of our solar system, and it might very well be, it will not be this. It'll be this. That's a completely different thing.
So
it'll be coming right toward us.
Okay, so I looked it up, and the link that you sent, and it's not going to crash into the sun. It's going to curve around our solar system and back into space.
Do you see the gray lines coming down on that chart? The straight ones that are not at a curve coming off of the curvature path.
Hold on. Let me see if I can do this, actually.
Going to share it?
If all
I'll make it easier for everybody.
Then what?
It's the first sign in a long series to convince people that, yes, the fairy tales were weird, but now it's time to accept the new paradigm. That's the idea.
But that's based upon what?
What do you mean by based upon what?
What's the source of that declaration?
Every religion on the planet of ancient origin describing a singular progenitor.
Could you give me a specific source?
The Bible is one.
Where in the Bible?
It's the story of Jericho, as I said.
So the story of walls is representative of the.
Why didn't you say I want to look up the reference? But just look up the word Dagon. From the Bible, look up the word Dagon. It appears only once. It's only in that story.
Dagon, Dagon?
Yes, sir.
The short story by H.P. Lovecraft, Dagon? 2001.
Well, that one's not in the Bible.
Dagon God, Dagon
Yes.
Shrine Oblivion,
That's
Dagon
right.
Bible.
But look it up. There you go.
Hebrew Bible, Dagon is specifically the god of the Philistines.
Okay.
Yes.
Hold on.
With temples at Beth Dagon.
For some reason. There we go. So, what are we looking at?
Okay, so could you rotate that so we have a side view instead of almost a 20-degree angle view?
Can I rotate that? I have no clue.
Yes, you can rotate it. Just left click on the lower. No, just use your mouse. Put it in the lower right-hand corner of the screen you're displaying.
Like this? Or more like this?
I have to wait for the computer to catch up so I can see what you're doing. In the blackened area that is the actual chart. Oh, there you go. You figured it out.
Okay.
Okay. So you have those gray lines coming straight down from the line, from the curved line, right? All of those represent acceptable variance. So those could be the actual places where it pierces the solar system. And it's represented in 2 dimensions, but that's not true. It's actually that much variance in any direction off the baseline.
Is there anything in this that shows us at what time?
Yeah, those numbers at the bottom.
Yes, there's so here
Really
are
see that these are circles.
here are the dates
At the bottom.
and the time.
Well, you can see the reason for my point. It doesn't matter if that is the variance, if there's no chance of us being in that part of the solar system when that could be there. And what
Dude, those lines are like 4 light minutes apart.
Why aren't is there a reason given why this doesn't show us the mean derivative solution to the where this thing might be?
That's the curved line. That's the mean derivative solution. That's the one that they think will be true.
So where is so it can only deviate south of that, and that's the south.
No.
Lower.
Any one of those lines could be that much variant in any direction. So don't misread it because they're 2-dimensional. But they wanted to represent it in a 2-dimensional way so you can see.
Okay. I'm saying if that's the case, then the brightest line points to one or the other of the extremes, not the mean.
And also if the measurements are that unclear, what makes you think that it will block out specific planets? Because
it's in the prophecy.
There's
not planets, stars.
Or stars. But it's in the prophecy, but it's not in what NASA depicts, because they do not have the exact measurements to come to the conclusion that
it's within the range of what NASA has predicted.
And that I can find nowhere. And that is so.
What do you mean?
It isn't mentioned anywhere. So who did those calculations for you in order to come up with a scenario that this particular comet would block out 3 different stars in the constellation of Draco? That's what I'm getting at, because as far as I'm aware, and I'm not trying to insult you, you're not a cosmologist, so who did those calculations and told you, hey, this is accurate, this is exactly what you described?
Okay.
Each. Okay, go ahead. Do that first.
Thank you. I'm not going to remember several things in a row.
No, okay.
Each one of those lines coming off of that base guess in that chart are cones. They're not singular lines. They're presented as singular lines, But actually, each one of them is a very wide bottom cone describing potentials. All right. But that would look like a blur, so they don't present it that way. So yes.
I got that part. The part that I'm curious about is who did the calculations to confirm that this particular comet would block out 3 particular stars, or would have the possibility to block those stars out. Who did those calculations?
The chart you just saw shows the possibility. The people who did the math on it and can see it is NASA. I did not find it on nasa.gov and try to stuff it into the story. As I said, I looked for it continuously for years. Like every time I could see the North Star, I looked up at that. Trying to see something that would block out the view. Frankly, I thought it might be heaven itself that blocked the view.
Hold on, Richard, because one thing we cannot see in this particular chart, and that is the 3 stars that you're referring to. So I can look at this particular chart until I turn blue in the face, but it only shows our solar system, not any other star. So
that's not true. Because we're talking about the North Star, that's not true. Because you have a y-axis and an x-axis and a z-axis that points at the North Star. Exactly. Now all you got to do is grab hold of that chart, bring it back up. Hold on. Just grab hold of it with your mouse, drag it down under in a curve, and you can look right up that spike.
Hold on. Time out. The chart is slowing down my processing capability. So when I put
you can do it off there.
And you're still answering a different question than the one that I've asked. So
it's coming from north.
Bear with me.
That spike points at north.
Bear with me, because I don't think that you understood the question that I asked.
That happens. I'm sorry.
Who did the calculations that this comet blocking out particular stars in Draco falls within the prediction given in this chart? Because you need to calculate the possibility given the trajectory of the comet. That's what I'm asking.
Given the trajectory of the comet, as it starts to curve more toward the sun, will be for a length of time. Space is bigger than people think. Even when stuff's going really fast, it's not curving very fast, and it's
also from our perspective.
For a length of time.
From our perspective, the Earth
of course, it's from our
perspective, the Earth is spinning. So we will be looking at this from different perspectives within 12 hours. Because and what I'm asking is, who did the calculations that this will line up with the 3 stars that you think are going to be blocked out?
The chart was made by NASA.
Yes, and the chart doesn't mention the 3 stars in Draco.
NASA doesn't care about that.
It doesn't show.
And that's why I asked who cared enough about it to make the calculations and told
what calculations are required.
Well, a little trigonometry would help to decide how big this thing that's headed towards us, such that it will consistently block out 3 stars for any period of time.
Right. Further away than Jupiter, it's the size of Jupiter in its coma. That's big.
So how long is it supposed to block out these stars?
It doesn't say a specific amount of time. It just says long enough for people to recognize it. Or else it would serve no purpose. If it was just going past them, it wouldn't make any difference. It'd be no prophecy.
We're constantly in motion.
And what you can't seem to explain is, Who did the calculation?
I just don't know what you're asking me. I think I've answered the question like 3 or 4 times now. I don't know what to tell you.
You haven't.
What calculation are you talking about, Peter?
The calculation of the trajectory of this comet in relation to Earth, our viewpoint.
NASA.
Where is that calculation? You just said NASA
it's
doesn't
on the
care.
chart you just saw.
No, because the constellation of Draco isn't in that chart.
Then look at it from the bottom.
And then
look at the chart from the bottom. You can move it. It's a 3-dimensional chart.
It still doesn't show the constellation of Draco.
But the spike points at the North Star, which is right beside them. You can tell which way it's coming from. It's not a mist. The very plane of the solar system, and you can tell it's coming from the north, looking at it from the side. I mean, this is not guessing.
I'm not saying it is guessing. What I'm saying is, in order for all of this...
Would you agree it's coming from the south of the plane of our solar system? Would you agree it's coming from the south?
Hold on. Because we're talking about two completely different things. You're talking...
I'm willing to trust you on that.
You're talking about the trajectory in relationship to Earth.
Yes.
That does not give us a measurement where the constellation of Draco is from the perspective...
Yes, it does.
Where?
We're on an average 16 light minute around the sun. We're the third planet out from the sun on that total chart. We're the third ring out on our orbit. You can plainly see from that chart where is astronomical north and what are the other two axes on the chart. Astronomical north on that chart is pointing at Polaris, which is right beside those 3 stars. You could totally tell just looking at it.
Astronomical Earth in space.
What? Astronomical north
in space. So
from our perspective,
from anywhere
is a cogent way to say it.
Well, that changes pretty fucking dramatically because we circle the sun
16 light minutes only. It's a very tiny orbit.
Right. But the direction at which we approach that fucking thing, even from that fucking distance, changes.
Have you ever seen long exposure pictures of the North Star?
Yeah, it wobbles.
What does it look like?
It wobbles.
Yes, it wobbles. How big of a wobble?
Well,
tiny, overlapping.
In a matter of degrees, it's fairly huge.
In a matter of degrees, it's fairly huge. How many fractions of degrees are you talking about? Because it's not fairly huge. Well, it's overlapping.
If I'm looking at a picture of it this big, I can see a fucking hole where that thing doesn't sit anymore. That seems fairly huge in the grander scheme of things. That's a pretty big hole in space.
That would require they were very close to the equator, and it was a certain time of year when they did it. And you'd be right.
What time of year can we see this thing shooting towards us dead on? Because that can only happen once.
I think where it arches down. Yeah, it'll only happen once. You're right. Where it arches down like that and it's going almost straight up and down to the plane of the solar system, 90 by 90. I think that's the part that's going to block out our view.
Of.
You want me to look up the names of those 3 stars? The head and hands of Draco.
Apparently they're significant because the entirety of its path, it's blocking out stars.
Yes, passing by them.
No, blocking them out.
It's on a curve.
And the way you describe, you can't see me anymore because I'm behind something that is far smaller than me. Right?
Yes.
So how many stars has this happened to as it travels past 1,000 people, 1 billion people sitting where I'm sitting with this kind of view? How many stars are blocked?
From what perspective?
Any perspective. I assume we have to use Earth's, but
look, it would be without purpose if you can't see it with a normal human naked eye. If you needed a telescope to see this, it would be a useless prophecy. Okay.
Okay, from where?
Yes, I know that their projected path would not accomplish this. I know that. I'm saying it's not going to be exactly on their projected path, but in that curvature as it enters into our solar system and near the Earth and getting ready to penetrate the plane of our solar system, it will be traveling straight down into our solar system like a 90 by a 90. Okay. Like if you laid a square against it in two directions at a 90-degree angle, they would both be a 90 to this plane of the solar system. It'd be coming straight down for a pretty good long while. Okay. And people will have time to look at it, recognize it, and talk about it. Not a passing flash of light. Blocking out those three stars. Will it block out more stars than that? Obviously, there's a bazillion stars behind that between those three stars.
Only block. It will. Oh, every night you look at it, it's going to be blocking out stars that you could otherwise have seen. Apparently.
Well, the prophecy says it'll be blocking out those three stars. Okay. If it makes North Star a little bit fuzzy, I don't really care.
Okay, so
what we're really saying is that at some point this thing's going to block out the North Star on some date and time that's observable from Earth.
Okay, now you're saying I said it's going to block out the North Star. People are going to quote you, you know.
I'm asking.
I just said if it makes it a little bit fuzzy, I don't care. As long as it completely, from a normal human, unaided vision, blocks out the three stars that I've been mentioning this whole time, then it fulfilled the prophecy.
You haven't identified them. You've just apparently been referring to this.
They are the head and hands of Draco.
Which means exactly dick.
Okay, I'll look them up for you. My gosh, man, how lazy can you be?
No, it literally means nothing to me that they're a part of a constellation. I can't tell you how little that means to me.
It's just describing a very specific aspect of a traveling bright object that we'll be able to see.
And right now we can see three stars, and at some point, something the size of Jupiter is going to block out three of them.
Yes.
God damn it, man.
And it doesn't have to be that big or all that horribly close to do it either.
Yeah, okay.
Just like you can hold your thumb and block all three of them out. At arm's length, you can block out all three of those stars with one thumb on one hand.
I could. I can.
So what I'm still not finding, and I've been looking while you two were talking. I still can't find any calculations on where it will go between Earth and Draco, and if it.
What do you mean between?
If it blocks out three stars in the constellation of Draco, for us, it is going in between us and Draco.
Where's Draco?
That's my problem, because I can't find a single chart that even shows.
Did you look up a star chart? Did you look up a star chart?
Yes, but the stars.
Hang on.
The problem is the star chart won't have the path of the comet in it, and if I look at a chart that has the path of the comet in it, Draco isn't mentioned. So I have no. What
would be really handy is if we had a single star with a single name that applied to both, like perhaps Polaris. That'd be really handy.
Peter, look up the constellation Phoenician.
The what?
Phoenician or whatever the fuck. Because Dragon is Sumerian, so it's not really going to be a constellation.
Dragon, as I said, became Poseidon constellation, became Draco constellation. If you want to look it up today in modern charts, you look up Draco.
I'm looking at. I thought we were supposed to.
Draco, Draco.
Draco is a constellation in the far northern sky. Its name is Latin for Dragon. It was one of the 48 constellations listed by the 2nd century astronomer Ptolemy, and remains one of the 88 modern constellations today. The north pole of the ecliptic is in Draco.
Yep.
And so, and I don't think the question that I asked is going to be answered, and I would really like
I guess I'm not understanding it, Pete. I'm sorry, but I don't get your question. You said, where's the math? I said, NASA. It's on the chart. It's all right there.
What I'm asking for is an astronomist or a cosmologist who can confirm that this thing is going to block out those particular 3 stars.
It's a very low chance. Okay? It's maybe 1% chance. Out of all the paths that it might take, it's maybe 1%, maybe even less than that.
So
I can just do that off the cuff for you.
Because now you're changing.
You'd have to employ an astronomer. No, I'm not changing the story.
Yes, because if there's a 1% chance.
No, I said I believe it will. I'm not changing my story. Don't say that.
Listen to what I'm actually saying. If there's a 1% chance, that means that there's a 99% chance that this prophecy won't be fulfilled.
That's right. I'll give you higher statistical unlikelihood. How about 1 billion to 1? I'll give you that. I don't give a crap.
The problem is you are convinced that it's going to be this 1%.
Yes.
How?
Not by one thing in one story from one religion.
No, I'm not asking you what didn't convince you. I ask you what did convince you.
Thousands upon thousands of confirmations of the same stories in multiple religions.
Talking about
I just have to let go of my prejudice, and it becomes obvious that they're all saying the same thing.
Can you name 6 religions?
6 what? 6 religions that tell exactly this particular story.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So obviously you got Judaism. Because it's Old Testament. No, I don't think I can tell you 6 on this particular story. I don't think I can. Hold on.
Just now.
That doesn't count against you. That's just honest, man.
Just now.
What I said was I have so many overlapping that I now believe that they're all true. That doesn't mean I found all of them overlapping in every religion. That's not what I said.
And the problem
I'd have to be 500 years old to do that.
Richard, time out. The problem with all of this is that you have this written down nowhere. So there's no way of checking any of these claims. That's why I asked for 6 religions. That's why I asked you a NASA chart. I don't need to make charts. I don't need to make charts. I don't need to do the math. There is the possibility existent in reality that this actually happens. That's not even related to my question. NASA isn't related to my question.
You want me to hire an astronomer to confirm this as possible? Is that what you want me to do?
You just said that all these religions line up. When I asked you to name 6, you couldn't even name 6.
Okay. Well, I can do it with the red star Kachina if you like. In fact, I already had.
How do you come?
I can do it with the blue star Kachina. I already had. I can do that. I can do it with the red eagle Kachina.
Time out. How do you come to the conclusion that, as you just said, and correct me if I'm wrong, thousands of religions converge on this particular thing, and you can't name 6?
I think you're committing a fallacy.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
You're making a claim.
You're putting words in my mouth that I actually didn't say.
No.
What I said is I've seen so much of this and other things like it that I'm convinced no matter where I look, I'm going to find it.
And I asked you where you looked.
I simply haven't had time to research every aspect of every story in every religion. I'd have to be 500 years old.
And that's why I asked you, which one have you looked at? Because if it's only going to be Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, great.
They are all Judaic religions.
Yes.
That's why I don't quote 2 of them. It's exactly why I don't quote 2 of them.
And my question was, which religions do confirm this, and you have checked that they do confirm this.
If you like, I will make effort to find this particular story in at least 5 more religions. It's a lot of work, but I'll do it. If you want ones I've already done that with, I've already given you one example.
What I'm trying to do is not to get you to do more work. What I'm trying to do is that for you to realize that you just made a claim that you now have to go do work for to actually back up, and you don't even know yet if that's the case.
You can kick me off, but it's now my turn.
Go ahead.
It's my turn to ask you one question.
Go ahead.
Do you believe that evolution is a strong evidence, a good explanation as why there is life on this earth, including humanity?
No. No,
you do not.
Not at all. No.
It explains the
evolution doesn't explain how we got life.
Technically, that was good. That was really good. Okay. Do you think it explains the diversity of life on this planet, including humans?
Yes, because we've got tons of evidence, and we can grab that evidence, read it, check it. Some of the experiments we can.
Are you trying to get me back now for not answering the question? Is that what you're doing? You're getting me back?
No. I'm explaining.
I mean, it's fair.
I'm explaining why I take that position.
Yeah, you only had to answer the question, though.
No,
okay.
I have to.
Now you're just being mean.
To be honest, I have to then tell you why I think it does.
It's not what I'm driving at.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, it's thorough. I'll give you that it's thorough. Okay, so people who believe that evolution is true normally dismiss intelligent design as a reputable theory. Do you give any credit to intelligent design as an explanation for the same evolutionary process that we are seeing?
You'll have to rephrase.
You believe
you'll have to rephrase the question, because I already reject the question in its entirety.
Okay, I'll try.
When you said people who believe in evolution, there are no people. Okay. There are no people.
People who are convinced by evolution.
Who are convinced by the
dismiss
evidence.
Intelligent design normally.
No, they're convinced by the evidence, and the evidence.
Let me just drop that entirely. Do you think that intelligent design is a decent theory for explaining the diversity of life on the planet?
No, because it's completely ruled out by what we already know.
In fact, you're so right about that. There was a judge's ruling in a court.
Exactly.
Did you know that?
Yes. 2005, Kitzmiller versus Dover.
Correct.
And I forgot the name of the judge. The judge was appointed. Judge Jones. Yes, and he was appointed
John E. Jones.
Yes, he was appointed by I forgot the name.
Reagan or Bush one.
But yeah, Bush. So he was, and he's. I think he's even an evangelist.
Don't care.
So that was.
Don't care. That's a straw man.
It does make it him more worthy of recognition that he obviously ignored what he believed.
Exactly.
Really?
To render
an
opinion.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Because when he was asked about the case coming up, because it had some fame around it, he said he was going to go watch Inherit the Wind as background research. And you're telling me that he thought that it possibly had a chance of winning the case.
Did I say that?
That's not reasonable to believe.
That?
You just recommended that he would. You said he comes from an evangelical background. He was put in office by President whomever.
Would you agree?
You were suggesting, is that he's a religious guy, more inclined to believe intelligent design, and that's simply not the case.
Would you agree, Richard, that in the USA today, this guy would be under a tremendous peer pressure?
Not my point.
to give ID a pass in a courtroom.
Not my point.
That's
okay,
the point.
so
That's the point Artie is making when he says it makes him more credible.
yeah, I understand, but that's creating something so that you can support your case. It's not necessarily true of the person who we don't know that
I'm
person.
I'm going to rein both of you in. Time out. We're going to go back, not down this rabbit hole. You asked the question, do I accept evolution as the best explanation we have for the diversity of life? That's not exactly what you asked, but that is where I stand. Do I think that there's any credibility to intelligent design? No, none whatsoever.
Great.
Nothing.
Okay, awesome.
Continue.
Okay, now, do you recall what changed John, or what I think cinched it up for Judge Jones in the court trials, where Michael Behe's argument of the flagellar motor interdependent complexity was dismissed as evidence for supporting their theory, because the type 3 secretor found in virus
I know
is a fully functional mechanism using the same structures in a slightly different order and less parts.
Yes.
Okay, so what was presented in that was, they said, look, here's a simpler form, and this simpler form later evolved into the flagellar motor. Yes. And look, it works just fine.
Exactly. So, but now,
what else do you know about the case? Because I'm going to show you that you're biased.
Where are we going?
I'm going to show you what you're doing to me.
Go ahead.
I'm showing you what you're asking of me.
I'm looking forward to the significance of the entirety of it. Yeah. And you, brother, you fascinate me, so tell this fucking story.
Yes. I want to hear that too.
Okay. Now, what else do you know about that particular situation with the flagellar motor and the type 3 secretor? What else did you find out about it?
What I found out about it is that the guy who at least had the guts enough to testify in all of this on behalf of ID was confronted with several papers, a ton of books that he hadn't read, and just had made a statement that this couldn't happen, even though there were a ton of scientific papers on this particular thing. And so
what else did you find out? I want to exhaust this. We have to exhaust this. I'm sorry.
One thing we learned was that
if I'm going to exhaust
one thing we learned was that the court what defines. Okay, my internet's cutting in and out. At least you guys are. I apologize.
Sorry. What I found out is that this guy was not only lying, he was making a case from personal incredulity. He didn't know what he was talking about, and he was caught out by the significant amount of evidence against him that he just didn't. He literally said during the court case that he wasn't interested in reading it. So now, please do me a favor. Get to the point where we're going, because I love talking about Kitzmiller versus Dover.
Well, I think you're going to be honest with me, so I don't have to try to deceive you. Okay?
Go ahead.
Did you know about the genetic survey that was done in a comparative between the flagellar motor and the type 3 secretor following the court case and the ruling?
No.
Why don't you know that?
Why don't I know that? Because
that's not a fair question.
The last
why don't
you know at what?
Hold on.
You can't know everything about everything. You can't.
Hold on.
So why would you ask a question?
I do have something to add to this, Because
Go ahead.
while I didn't look up what you're talking about now specifically, last year I was invited, and you can go check, I was invited by P.Z. Myers to join him in his classroom where, and I keep forgetting the name, the guy who testified on behalf of evolution. Oh man, PZ's going to kill. PZ's going to
Michael.
Michael Shermer.
It was. No.
Michael Shermer.
Shermer in this whole thing doesn't matter. Shermer just was trying to ride someone's coattails.
The Catholic biologist who was there on behalf of Eugenie Scott's.
There were two. He had a name that was similar to another name in the whole thing. It was Miller.
Yes. No.
Miller.
Yes. Ken Miller. So
that's right.
Ken Miller was giving a lecture in P.Z. Myers' class through the internet, through a hangout, and I was invited to be part of that. I got a link to be part of that whole thing. And he got back on the whole Kitzmiller versus Dover thing. And while I didn't look everything up, he did tell the people in the classroom that there has been done more research, and the case that was presented in Dover actually
was not the full case.
The case that was presented in Dover, there was more evidence to back it up today. Would he have gone to that particular case today, then he could make an even more compelling case.
Quite possibly, yeah.
And
now personally, I don't think intelligent design is a decent model at all.
But why
I am not
are you
a proponent
asking,
of intelligent design.
No,
because darn it, I went and did research so I could find out the truth about something.
Why did you ask the question?
First of all, you can't know everything. And I'm showing you that I do unbiased research in things that I think may or may not be true until I come to enough evidence that I become convinced one way or the other. Mm-hmm. So I don't think intelligent design is a good theory. I think it's highly flawed. I think there's strong evidence in both directions, but ultimately what you end up with is ID as a description of diversity of life. This planet doesn't work.
I'm still at a loss. Why? So why did we go down this whole rabbit hole?
Because you asked me to know everything, and I can't.
Oh, I don't think he did that.
No, I didn't.
You asked.
I can see how you.
I told you at the beginning of this conversation. Wait. No, I gave you 5 different religions with all this expression in it, and then you said, "Well, name me 6 which is one more." I noticed. Name me 6 on this particular topic. You can't do that.
But
nobody can do that.
No, but you made a positive claim that there are thousands.
There are. Just like you believe that ID's not right.
How did you count thousands?
There are literally thousands.
Let me finish the question. How did you count thousands if you never got past 6?
You're cheating again.
No, I'm not cheating. I don't even know why you're doing that. I'm asking you.
Yes, you're totally cheating.
No. From thousands of religions, I'm asking you to back up this tiny part, which is 6 religions.
Which I haven't. That particular one you chose, just like I chose Dover. You hadn't researched, just like I hadn't researched yet.
I can do it. I have researched.
Not as much as I have, bud. Because you don't know that the type 3 secretor is younger than the flagellar motor. You do not know that.
No, maybe I don't.
Okay, well, I recommend you look into that because it's a younger model.
And it's also not how it was explained. It wasn't.
So it might be a default.
Hold on, because now you're making a very big mistake. Because no one in the court case said that the flagellum evolved from the type 3 secretor.
Well, then what was Miller's reason for giving that as an example?
Miller's reason for giving that as an example is that they could take away so many parts and it would still work. It's exactly the same as when I hear a creationist tell me that we evolved from a frog. No, we didn't. We had a common ancestor. We didn't evolve from something that exists today.
Right,
We
it's a straw
evolved
man.
from something millions of years ago.
Now, I personally feel that Jones ruled properly. That's what I personally feel, that Jones ruled properly. I think that it is not good science. Okay? But that doesn't change the fact
It is good
that
science.
Miller did.
It is good science
What?
because no one made
ID
the
is good
claim.
science?
No one made the claim that you are making right now, is that the flagellum evolved from the type 3 secretor. It didn't.
Okay, how many parts differences are there between the flagellar motor
Why
and
does
what
that
did
matter?
Miller say?
It doesn't
Because Miller
even-
said it.
It
That's
doesn't
why it matters.
matter.
Well,
It
but how
doesn't-
can
It doesn't
Miller said
matter.
is your point?
It
Is your
doesn't
point
matter.
that because he said that he's claiming complete knowledge of the process?
No, I'm not saying he did.
Then why are you bringing it up?
Because Miller in the court case did suggest this, and now Peter here is saying it
No.
doesn't matter and it wasn't part of the court case.
But
It
what
was.
does it establish?
No, he
what-
did not
The
suggest
point
this.
of you bringing it
That's
up
what
was
I'm-
to establish what?
Time out. He did not suggest this. He only demonstrated. That if you take, and I don't know the exact number. I think it was
like 10. Let's just say 10.
Yeah, let's
17, Heather.
10 parts away from it, it would still function, and we would still
Right.
have an example of
Okay,
it.
when you
We would time out. We would still have an example of it that we could show today that it would still function. It had
What's the word
nothing.
still there mean?
It had nothing to do because he didn't make the claim that the flagellum evolved from the type 3 secretor. He did not make that claim. Nowhere
what's the
in
word
the entire court case did he make that
Okay.
claim.
you just used the word still, you said it would still have a function. What's the word still right there mean?
It would have a function. So, what that would prove is that there could have been an intermediate step that still had a function.
That's right. Good job. Right on the nose.
Or didn't?
He connected them and compared them, and you want to let him not connect them.
No, he didn't connect them. He showed
Yes, he
that he showed a possibility.
And
He
when
did not
when you
connect
recited
anything. He did not connect
When you were-
anything.
and when you recited your knowledge of the case, you used the word still, which is a comparative, and you connected them too.
How else?
On
how
behalf
else?
of every
how,
pedantic twat in the universe, I just want to say that I fucking
How
love
else-
all of this shit right now. And
How
it's
else?
pretty good,
been a
though.
How
fucking
else would
blast
you?
to listen to you pedantic twats talk about this pedantic fucking shit? But can we either end this or let's just fucking end this, dude? How long are we gonna do this?
It's been a fun time either way, though.
Artie, cut it up. Cut it up.
I've
want-
never
I
once
want to-
suggested that
no,
this wouldn't be made
I'm-
better with a fucking campfire and alcohol. You guys both know
I still
that.
want to get
I just
Artie. I still want to get this out. The
and I want to
reason-
be rich
The
tomorrow
reason
morning.
that I use the word still is because I'm at a loss for a word to use there. It would work. I could say it like that. If you take 10
Okay, what
parts
does that
away,
show?
it would work.
Okay, what does that show? That it works. We always knew that it always worked. What does that show?
You
It shows that
you
there's no
said
need
I was
for-
on the nose because I used the word still. I just said the exact same thing without using the word still.
Yes. Now I'm asking you why it's an example of something. Why did Miller use it?
Miller used it to show that the flagellum could have had earlier stages with a function.
Okay, that's right. He did.
And I still don't
Which
know
means
how this
he connected
ties,
them the
how
same
does
way
this
you just
tie
did.
in- How does this tie in with your religion.
Oh, no way at all. I don't care anything about it.
So
this is why I wanted to say,
I'm just having fun.
Can we fucking end this, or
I'm just having fun.
I'm having fun too, and I'm looking at the clock, and we've been live for 2 hours and 20 minutes. I think it's reasonable to just end it here.
That's a good first show. Next time, plan for 7 though.
And I'm not going to plan for 7 hours.
Okay, 5.5.
No,
Richard.
No, we're going to try
4.
again and do this in an hour and a half, but we need to have someone here who just fires a shotgun and says rabbit hole, and then we get to rein ourselves back in, because
well, if you guys didn't lead the conversation down rabbit holes, I wouldn't follow you.
I tried like 3 times for us.
I mean, it's your show. I'm just trying to play along with your show, man.
Yeah,
if this was my show, we could have got a lot further on my show. A lot farther.
If Peter latched onto the fucking rabbit tails that went down the fucking he's got Peter's fucking cottontail in his mouth and he's not letting go.
I'm quickly falling in love with both of you. I want you to know that. But seriously, if all kidding aside, you know, I try to follow whoever I'm talking to. Okay. So I think it's difficult to answer questions from 2 people simultaneously. I think that's really difficult. I don't mind that. I would entertain as many as 5 if they were all on the same topic.
You're such a slut.
I know. I'm cheap too.
And the reason, Richard, and I've been asked this multiple times, why does it need to be a 2-on-1? Well, first of all, because I don't think I'm smart enough to do this on my own. Second of all, because I have 3 wonderful co-hosts. This guy right here is just plain fun to be around with. So
yeah, he is.
So knowing that we have had an interaction where things got heated, I wanted Artie to be there to just lighten up things, which he always does and doesn't get enough credit for, because
he's certainly a valuable friend.
There are 2 people. There are 2 people. There are 2 people I can name.
No, seriously, shut the fuck up.
He can't take compliments, you know.
I would rather listen to fucking Dead Air than any more of that shit.
I'm sorry. Were you talking? Everyone was ignoring you, Artie. Could you just shut up now?
Why are you even here?
I mean,
for Peter, not for you. I mean, you're an annoyance I put up with.
Well, I was talking to
so
Peter,
you know
not
that.
you.
I was just going to say there are 2 people off the top of my head that you can't get mad at. One is behind me and one is beside me, and I'm not too sure about him anymore now.
By the way, Peter, can you show everybody that fucking witch finger you've got again?
You got a messed up finger?
Come on. No, you got to point it at us. Point it at us so we can. There you go.
Oh wow. It is kind of spooky looking.
Fuck yeah.
It's
You want to talk about an alien invasion? How the fuck
Did you cut the end of your finger off?
That?
Is that how you did that?
I got that after my encounter with the aliens, so it's probably just them.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Turns out the probe was coming from the house.
It looks like the finger E.T. has when he phones home a little, but
I know a woman that was born with this last joint on her knuckles, right there. She was born without any of those on any finger.
Oh wow!
And she was an excellent guitarist, believe it or not.
Oh well, sure, she could slam the shit out of strings.
That's right.
Okay.
I had a friend who had a web between these 2 fingers, and he couldn't play guitar for shit.
Second knuckle? Between the second knuckle? I guess you couldn't, yeah.
So
can't spread your fingers apart very far.
Exactly.
Time out.
Play the trumpet,
There's
though.
one question I want to get in, and she's left already. Joan left one question, and she put it in exactly the way I need to ask it, and she put it in all caps. Can you give the pillars of this religion, not the long-winded explanations? Can you just in one
First,
sentence.
it's not a religion, it's the end of religion, which is why I keep saying, welcome to the beginning of the end of religion. I'm not kidding. It's not a cult, it's not a religion, it's getting rid of cults and religions. That's the total idea.
Can we make that Can we make that the topic of the next show?
Sure, absolutely. That'd be great.
Great.
How they're going to get rid of religion. That'd be a great topic.
How do I get rid of both of you and finally end the show? Because I don't know.
Well, I want to answer the question first. I haven't answered it. That was like sidestepping the question. I want to directly answer it. So all I have is a reading frame. I would describe the reading frame. Okay. So if I set down a couple simple guidelines, and I guess that's what she's asking for, then the guidelines would be forget history. Who gives a crap? It's not historically true anyway. That's the first rule. Okay. The second rule would be what makes the whole of the text work without interrupting and correcting itself, without contradicting itself. Okay. Because the proper reading frame should do that for any book you pick up. And if it doesn't, then it's trash. In other words, Christianity is trash. Christianity is trash. Islam is trash. Judaism is trash. They have to ignore parts of their own religion to keep their view of the religion. But that's okay. It's in the text to be that way. I guess the third rule would be that the only person who's going to fully understand any of it ever is Christ. Or if you want to call him Buddha. Or if you want to call him Thor, that's fine too. Or whatever variation of name you use. But he'll be the one that actually understands all of it. Okay? Because instructions, encouragements, promises, and threats are not written for those incapable, that is the practitioner. They're written for the hero of the story. So what I'm saying is the story is for the hero, about the hero, for the hero, to guide and educate the hero to bring the end of religiosity. That's what I think it's really about.
I have written down a note for the first question for the second part of this.
Sweet.
Great. So, but for now, at least, we're going to end the show. And I can only say, Richard, it's always a delight talking to you. I get frustrated as hell, and I'm further away from understanding everything than when I talked to you the first time. And
you know what's really funny about that, Peter? Just like you could take a lot of these audio visual manipulation programs and teach me how to use one, and that would be easier than me sitting here asking you questions about it. It's the same thing.
I'm fine with doing that.
I believe that's true.
So, but
it'd be easier if I led the conversation than if you do. It really is.
Wait a minute. Now I got a question. Now I got a question in the side. Now I got a question in the side chat that I need to address. Duke said, "Do you get mad at me? I mean, after our initial conversation." No. Duke is one of the people who I got into a conflict, and that was pretty public. Duke was one of the people who just came to me and said, "Hey, I want to hear your side of the story," and I got to tell my side of the story, and then we ended up talking, I think, 2 hours about music, and he's just one of the few people who are interested in, when there's a conflict, hearing both sides of the story, and I wish there were a lot more people like Duke. And I think Artie will agree.
Yeah,
we need a lot more.
Duke will shit on your opinions, but he will treat you like a king.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you can't ask for much more than that.
He's one of the gems that I discovered on social media, and so yeah. I hope that answered the question, Duke.
His eyes are too far apart, though.
And he's
that's genetic.
And he's apparently an asshole because he got kicked off of Twitter. So and you
parents
can't
are cousins.
see. So there are people who
I'm
don't
not certain that's a requirement for getting kicked off of Twitter. Perhaps just being stubborn is enough.
No,
that helps.
Being kicked off of
in
Twitter,
Florida.
the only thing you need to do is piss off the right people who have a firm backing, and mass reports will just take care of it. That you don't even have to do anything wrong. You can just be suspended by being mass reported. That's the problem with Twitter. So Richard, it was as Adi
Can't call
would
it
say,
boring, right?
as Adi would say. No, it's never
it's fucking fun.
It's never boring, and I really want you back, and we'll go off of Artie's notes for the second show. No spooky. We're not going for 2 more hours. Screw you, Spooky.
And it is
Now,
one
if
note.
Spooky wants to do
mine.
a show directly following this, I'll do 2 more hours right after a cigarette.
Oh yeah, Spooky, hook us up, throw us a link. We'll be there.
Totally.
Richard, really, it was great having you, and I'm already looking forward to having you back. Artie,
Me too.
it's great that I finally got in touch with you over the good old telephone. so
One ringy dingy.
Yeah, so I got to explain you all about doozies and stuff. But no, it's
It's so funny that you keep bringing that up, as if the guy that grew up 30 miles south of where they were made doesn't know where doozy came from.
no.
Yeah,
He said the only good thing to come out of Indiana was driving in circles, and he left the doozy out. The doozy, who literally stands for everything that is good in the U.S.
Do you know why Duesenberg chassis were built the way they were?
In which way were they
To
built
win
the way
the
they were?
fucking Indianapolis 500, you dumb fuck.
Okay. That just makes no sense. If that would have been to win the Formula One, then you would have a case, because that's just a world championship.
It's a huge fucking car, dude. It's like you swear you're looking at something powered by steam that runs on rails.
Can I end the show now, please?
Sorry. Say fucking doozy one more fucking time.
Richard, doing a show with you.
I want to say,
doing a show with you was a doozy, and I hope we can do it again.
anytime you like. There's no way it would be soon enough for me.
Okay.
Truly, that's the truth.
Right.
You guys definitely have my friendship. You're earning my respect, and I really appreciate what you're doing, saying, thinking, feeling, expressing. I really do.
Okay. Thanks everyone in the side chat, and hopefully catch you the next time around. Not sure when.
Peace and love.
Peace
and love.
Peace and love. Okay. Bye, everyone.
My Ringo imitation.